We're getting more information about the role Canada played in the arrest of Ryan Wedding, the former Olympian. That's all coming to light. U.S. authorities alerted the RCMP about the arrest of him. He's an Olympian turned drug kingpin, days before he was taken into U.S. custody in Mexico. The RCMP says it also had a number of members involved in key roles that led to that arrest. This comes as the RCMP is, like every other government department, managing budget cuts while looking to expand the force, and with some saying that there is an extortion crisis in parts of this country. I spoke about all of this with the Commissioner of the RCMP, Mike Duheme. Commissioner Mike Duheme joins me in studio. Nice to see you again, Commissioner.
Thanks for having me, Rosie.
Lots to talk about, but I want to start with sort of the big story. I think we were supposed to talk to you last week, and I looked up and I saw you were not in the country. Ryan Wedding was arrested on multiple charges related to murder and drug trafficking. It is a little bit unclear to me how things unfolded, and I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to say. There seems to be some confusion around whether he surrendered or whether he was taken in Mexico. What can you tell me about how that actually unfolded?
So I apologize for last-minute change last time because I had to be there last minute. But you know what, Rosie? It's an interesting and complex international file where you see where the RCMP came together with the FBI, Colombians were involved, the Mexicans were involved, the Justice Department, the FBI, I said, many law enforcement, Canadian law enforcement, U.S. law enforcement. And this was really, it was a FBI lead, but we have some RCMP members that had played a key role in this investigation, throughout the investigation. And considering that this was led by the FBI, the briefing I got was very little with how he was apprehended. And out of respect to the FBI, I don't usually ask questions when it begins into these, I would say, special operations and how it's done, because it's not my file to speak.
Okay, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that essentially the Mexican police alerted the FBI and the FBI negotiated with him to give himself up to surrender. I don't know if that's the
I don't have that information. Okay. I was told to be in Ontario, California at a certain time, and to be there for the arrival of
Okay, so that's the other part I wanted to know. How much were you informed that they were on the verge of this? Because, as you said, you got to California pretty quickly.
It was really close hold. So I would say probably 3 days before flying out, I was informed just to be on standby and what was unfolding, and I appreciate the fact that we were able to be there to, you know what, I'd say of the history I have in the organization, probably one of the biggest criminals who's running a multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise that was arrested.
So just to conclude on this part of it, what does this mean for the charges against him? There are charges against him in Canada. Will he just stay in the United States? How will your involvement now continue?
So our involvement will continue with the file, but be mindful that as the investigation began, all the collection was based on U.S. judicial process. So we're going to go through the indictments, and you got to remember that the person's still in custody. So there's sometimes investigative steps that continue and see where that goes. But right now we're focused on the indictments in the United States, and then after that we'll see the next phase.
And has pleaded not guilty.
And has pleaded not guilty.
A year ago, the RCMP increased border staff by, I think, 35%. It was supposed to be temporary. Is it ongoing?
Yeah, no, it's we fill that up, but you got to remember, and when we got this $666 million from the government, is that we invested a lot in technology. So initially there was a huge push to put regular members or police officers on the front line, but as we're bringing in new technology, you can have different approach when you're enforcing between the ports of entry and being guided by technology or what you have. So
okay, so but the presence remains, but it could go down if you.
The presence it could ebb and flow depending where we're at. But I look at the crossings between the ports of entry, especially in the province of Quebec. Yes. We've arrested more people this year because we have better technology on it. So and we work.
And what is the technology? Drones, I imagine.
This is the aerial capability is something that we didn't have, so that's really profitable. With the aerial, with the Black Hawk helicopters, we've detected other areas where could be used for passage between the ports of entry. So it gave us a different perspective of the whole border.
Are we seeing more people at the border because, for instance, these ICE raids and other concerns that people are having?
I would look at, there's no really significant spike. Even if the United States are removing temporary protective status for certain individuals, we haven't really seen a notable spike on that.
But you have made more arrests.
We have made more arrests.
Or detained more people, yeah.
Yes. But our role is, you got to appreciate, Rosie, our role is if someone crosses between the ports of entry, we arrest the individual and bring them to CBSA who process the person. So, and again, technology, the increase in technology has played a huge role.
Okay. I want to ask you about the federal gun buyback program, which, as you know, there are provinces that are not interested in participating. Newfoundland says it's not going to participate. Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the Northwest Territories, none of them plan to administer the program. How is this going to work if provinces aren't cooperating?
So you have to understand that the whole buyback program is driven by public safety.
Yeah.
Our role was Canadian Firearms Program was responsible to provide some of the data, some of the types of weapons that would go on the list, and we are also responsible to set up the collection of the weapons. So it would be to public safety to continue negotiating with the provinces to get to an agreement or a term or compensation with regards to the buybacks.
Is that disappointing to you that provinces are not willing to do this?
Well, it's. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed, but when you look at the totality, if we can get the types of assault-style firearms off the street, it's safer for everyone.
And what are you doing in terms of the weapon collection right now? Like how is that? So there's very few, I guess, happening. But
so the collection hasn't started just yet for the private citizen, for the civilian. Where the portal ends at the end of March, I believe, and then they're going to assess all the information that comes in, and from there, with our plans to collect the firearms, we're going to roll it up, and then the message will go to the owners of the assault-style firearms, and then the collection site will be determined. Okay.
I'm going through a lot of topics, and I appreciate that you're willing to take them all. I do want to ask you about extortion. Yeah. The BC RCMP Assistant Commissioner, as you know, had to apologize for not being willing to, I guess, say that what was happening in British Columbia is in fact a crisis. The Mayor of Surrey is now demanding more action because she is very concerned about the cases of extortion in British Columbia. I know you met with Premier Eby while he was in town. What is the RCMP doing on this file to make people feel safe in their communities?
So you have to put things in perspective as to the whole question of extortion. Because right now, and you probably know this, Rosie, Lower Mainland BC and the Peel region where they had the summit as well, Edmonton and the Edmonton area as well. Based on the intelligence that I'm being given, these are local South Asian organized crime groups that are doing it. We don't have a transnational tentacle. So from a federal perspective, our federal mandate, we're there. We decide to provide additional resources to BC, but to look at really focusing, is there a transnational element? But the intel doesn't indicate that. British Columbia stepped up in having a task force with extortion. And the meeting I had with Minister Eby, as well as the minister the day before, was real to look at how can we help even more BC to tackle this crisis. And that's what we're doing. The province has agreed to commit more resources. And talking with my minister, we decided that we can provide some federal resources as well.
That's surprising to me that there's no transnational influence, because we have seen in the past, obviously, that these gangs inside Canada are influenced by what's happening in another country. So is that surprising, or do you think that they're influenced but there's no direct connection, I guess?
Well, from the briefings I received is right now there's nothing that demonstrates there's a transnational aspect. I'm not saying there's none at all, but in our holdings, and as we continue, because there's still some files that are being investigated, there's many files that are being investigated, it could have a transnational component, and that's where we're going to assist. And
so what is it that Canadians who are experiencing this fall victim to this? What is it that they should know?
I say the first thing you should do is as soon as you're a victim of extortion, at the very preliminary stage, is to contact your police. And that will give us, there's a lot of work going on in the 3 different areas to address it and to make people safe.
Is it as bad as the Premier and the Mayor of Surrey seem to think it is?
Well, so if you look in Lower Mainland, there was an increase at one point, and then it kind of quieted down, and then it picked up again. So putting the right resources, informing the people, that's one of the key things, and
talking about it.
Well, talking about it for sure. For sure.
The RCMP is tasked with cutting 2% of your budget. It's not like everybody else right now. You're having to make difficult choices. Have you sorted out where that 2% is going to come from? Because you're also trying to recruit people.
Yeah, so the RCMP was fortunate because it's only 2%. Other government departments 15%, and 2% of my overall budget is about $92 or $93 million. we can trim that without affecting frontline policing, without affecting our recruiting and our administrative structure and the frontline. So
you're not going to be in a case where you have to lay people off, obviously, because you want the opposite to happen.
Well, yeah, but we are in that comprehensive expenditure review, and we are assessing what needs to be done. And I'll be honest, Rosie, with any organization or any government department, we grow, and eventually, it's time to trim some of the fat off. And I think that we are in a position where I think it's an opportunity for us to streamline some of the process and even refine the organization. When I say the organization, predominantly national headquarters and how we serve the divisions.
Commissioner, thank you for coming in, spending all that time with me, answering all those different questions. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rosie.